Hello and welcome. I'm here today with Heather, our coach, one of our coaches here at Dietitian Boss. I'm super excited to have her introduce herself and talk about shifting your mindset and examples of thoughts and feelings. So before we get into today's topic, Heather, can you introduce who you are and a little bit about yourself to the listeners?
Absolutely. Hey, thanks for listening. My name is Heather Paulson, Dr. Heather Paulson, and I am a naturopathic oncologist. I have recently retired to Peru, where I have the freedom to do all of the online things that we encourage you to explore in the Dietitian Boss method. So doing group programs, doing online programs, courses, building email lists, building followings on social media platforms. These are all things that I've done previously to give me the freedom to live wherever I want and really live the lifestyle of my dreams.
I love it. And before we hit record, you were telling me that you were visiting Mayan ruins this weekend, right? And kind of really exploring Peru, which is where you live. And I love that you do that. I think that's such a beautiful way to live your life. And then, it really role models for our clients that flexibility that you're able to achieve. And I'm really grateful that you're able to help our clients and not only Rebellion, but also in our mastermind programs and coaching. And they get to spend time with you and we get to spend time with you. So I'm really happy to introduce you with the audience. I would say one of your skills, although you have many, I consider you a healer. And I would say that your mindset abilities to reframe and work with our clients is really fun to watch and be a part of. So I was thinking we could talk a little bit about shifts in mindset, both for those who are unaware and for those that are aware, to motivate them to continue doing so that ultimately they can achieve that flexibility that starting their own business allows them to have, right? That flexibility and freedom, whether that be time freedom or financial freedom or both. And you could pull some examples, right, that we've seen from our clients recently. What are some of the examples that you've seen where our clients are getting stuck? They are pushing back at shifting their mindset, or they're in the process of doing so, and we are facilitating their shifts?
There is so much in starting a business and starting something new that requires flexibility in how we perceive ourselves, how we perceive our environment, how we interact. So one of the things that I see as a common challenge with people who are highly educated, highly motivated, also maybe define themselves a little bit on the perfectionistic side. And I would say dietitian bosses fit in this very well because you've gone through so much training, you've gained so much expertise over many, many, many years, and you've really excelled in an academic setting and also maybe in a clinical setting working with patients, that the mindset has to be shifted to allow for imperfections, allow for trying new things, allow for exploration of self-expression. And these are things that can be uncomfortable, especially in the beginning when you're first starting out a business and you don't even know what it would look like to get an A+ in starting a business and being an entrepreneur. And then being an entrepreneur, one of the things that, I'm talking from personal experience too. It's not like this came natural to me, and I'm sure you have your own experiences too, Libby, is to be an entrepreneur, you have to be so flexible with your mindset. So one of the things that I really leaned on when I was starting my businesses and I coach people through is that beginner's mindset of being open to learning new things, being a student and gaining expertise in how to run a business. But for our lovely dietitian bosses who are starting in Rebellion, the most important thing, if you want to start out and you're breaking the mold, you're breaking out from what is expected of a dietitian, what's expected of your training. So if you want to break out of that mold, you have to be willing to make mistakes, take risks, and really get to know yourself and have that freedom of self-expression.
That's beautiful. I fully agree. And that's what we're here to support you, not only with the step-by-step roadmap found in the Dietitian Boss, and also our time to work with you through some difficult foundations and then the support of your peers who are working alongside you for the same thing. And their version might look a little different, right? Your peer might want to have practice that looks a little different than how yours looks, but you're ultimately working towards the same end goal, which is usually a combination of freedom and flexibility, right? So that flexibility to work on your own terms and that personal and financial freedom to be able to live life the way you want and work with who you want to work with that feels really aligned, so you can work with patients that you feel connected to and you feel like you can express your body of work. And so I know that on times when you're adopting that beginner mindset, it can be really challenging to think of that. And that's why in the beginning of our program, we always like to ask you to set your intentions and think about why you're doing this so that you have some direction on challenging days. And so for a lot of you, you share that you want flexibility. You want to be able to have a balanced life, and building your own practice will help you achieve that because you can design how you want it to look. Of course, money's part of it too, but we hear more that you want that flexibility. And that's the beauty of an online business and the beauty of running scalable programs, is that taking those first steps with mindset is going to help you get there, get that foundation, which feels really rewarding. You don't have to do it alone because it can feel really scary when you're trying to piece things together. So with mindset, Heather, I heard you talking about dietitians are perfectionists. Yes. We want an A plus, which is true. And that's a mindset shift, right? Is that, you want to do B minus work when you're just getting started because you have to push forward, right? You hear me say in coaching that done is better than you have to do before you optimize. So you want to get the thing done before you can improve the thing. And I see that a lot with coaches that want to provide this perfect, amazing coaching. They just need to get experience working with clients to then iterate on the process and reflect. And that's the same thing with sales calls and content and pretty much everything. What are some common things lately that you've heard or we've heard with clients where you've been able to help them work through their mindset? Can you think of a particular example?
Yeah, it's so funny to be blanking right now because we've been doing so much mindset coaching, especially in the last few days. So I'm trying to think of like the best example. See, this is me being imperfect right now, guys.
Love it. Didn't mean to put you on the spot. So that's all right. So I can share one of them was one of our clients. We're not going to name her for purposes of, we just didn't get permission to name her, but she has been struggling with, let me think of a pseudo name here. Let's just call her Angela. Okay. So she's been struggling with her messaging and wanting to hone in on who her messaging is for, which is important when it comes to creating clear content that will help you become visible. So if you need me to back up a step, just as a reminder, if you're looking to leverage social media, which is where people are searching for health solutions on social media every single day. If you want to be known and seen in a space such as PCOS with weight neutrality, then your content needs to show up when people are searching under those associated hashtags and keywords, whether we're on TikTok or Instagram. So following the idea of honing in on your message and really focusing on differentiation, which is what we teach in the Dietitian Boss Method, you have the opportunity to be seen in the relevant keywords such as PCOS and weight neutrality. So for our client, Angela, she was trying to achieve that visibility, and yet she's still in the beginner phase. She's making progress. She's doing great. She's being hard on herself. She's being a perfectionist. So now that we have that reframe, Heather, does that help to kind of take it from there? Okay. All right.
Absolutely. Because I was trying to think of like the perfect example. So, and that makes my brain freeze. And so that's a really good, I'm just going to self-teach here, example of what happens to all of us, including me and including Libby. Yep. And when we get into that, like, well, what's the right thing to say in this moment? What's the perfect thing? It can cause our brain to like literally go like throw on the brakes. So for Angela, one of the things that we see a lot is we talk a lot in the Dietitian Boss Method of the importance of niching down. And there's lots of episodes on the podcast that you can refer to and on the YouTube page about niching. But sometimes, like for Angela, niching is becoming a crutch in some ways of like, oh, this must not be working yet because I haven't found that perfect niche, or I need to niche down even further. And when I have this global perspective, which is so much easier for other people than ourselves, right? We see this in our friends and our family. We can see solutions to problems so much easier, which is why it's so important to be in a group of peers and with coaches. Is when I look at Angela and I say, what I really see here is some self-doubt. What I really see here is like not giving enough time for her messaging to land in front of the right people and be read by the right people. I don't really think that she needs to niche down further. She has a great niche in her field of desire and weight loss. And so that is where we really have to shift our mindset. Is it because we need to niche down? We're not talking to the right people? Or is it because we're having some self-doubt creep in and like, it's not working. It's not working fast enough. There's got to be something I'm not doing right. And I see this particular person posting a lot about like, is this okay? Am I doing this right? Am I doing that? Like looking for a lot of validation, which is what I love to do and why I'm here and why Libby is here. And any of the coaches that you come across in the Dietitian Boss Method, that's what we're here to do. Say, yes, you're on the right track. But sometimes that self-doubt of being like, well, am I on the right track? I don't really know, can really pause you from just going for it, just going for that niche that you've already carved out or going for that desire you've already named. So one of the mindset shifts around that is one, we always encourage you just give it time. We set some time limits on testing things. Sometimes those time limits are 14 days. Sometimes those time limits are 90 days. So you have to give your business some time to breathe and gain its own traction. So that's a very logical way. One of the things that we can do to shift our mindset is to take the emotionality out of it and approach it with logic and say, okay, well, it hasn't been 90 days and these are the metrics I'm trying to measure and these are the numbers that I'd like to hit. So having those kind of measurables can be really important for shifting the mindset.
It can be. Thank you for sharing that, Heather. And I also think it's challenging since the profile personality of most dietitians is not logical, it's feelings based. As healers and people who love to help other people, I think it can be hard for us to tap into our logic brain, which is why it's so important to be self-aware. And in your process of starting and growing and scaling your business, you will learn how to be self-aware faster than in most other circumstances. And you might understand that, turning on my logic brain is harder, or you might feel that turning on your logic brain is easier and it's harder for you to tap into emotion and vulnerability. So again, it's just another example of how vast entrepreneurship and the lessons are, right, within what you need to learn and how the foundations are important. And so I think that the idea of talking about identifying your mindset, being aware of your personality, and then making shifts is part of the process, both if you're getting started, clarifying your messaging, and also if you're, when you are at the point where you're growing your business, you're achieving that flexibility that you desire, or you're even hiring, if you qualify for our executive level program and you're actually setting down the foundations to scale, it's still important at all levels. Any final thoughts on that, Heather, before we wrap up this episode?
Yes. So logic is one piece of it. And I would challenge that you do, even if you are more emotional, you do have some capacity for logic-based thinking because you've memorized research studies. Certain percent of people respond to X, Y, and Z dietary intervention. So you have that capacity. But if you tend towards more emotionality, then the important step in mindset is looking at your emotions with some neutrality and then approaching it as if you are your own best coach and saying, okay, if you heard your best friend saying those same things, what would you say to your best friend to encourage them out of that hole? Or how would you help them rephrase a certain recurring thought to help them see themselves the way that you see them, which is with a lot of love and positivity? So if you could apply those principles to yourself, then that would be an emotionally based way to shift your own mindset.
I love that. Yeah. Thank you for clarifying as well that we have capacity for logic as well. And that we've proven that by becoming, credentialed and passing exams, et cetera. It's just tapping in and being aware and knowing when to approach situations and how to break through them. And that's the beauty of coaching. And that's the beauty of working with mentors like us. Maybe even you come into a program like ours and you understand your personality, but you tap into a deeper level when you really have these conversations and you see how you work through issues and barriers that happen in every single business. So wonderful to chat with you, Heather. Super grateful to have you supporting our clients in our programming. And we will make sure to have more episodes and talk about similar issues because these are the topics that come up the most with our clients as they're hitting their milestones, from getting their first client to making their first $1,000 to achieving the flexibility that they desire with running their private practice.